close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Welcome to Trucker Safety Divas. The show is just getting ready to start. Let me introduce you to your host, Angela Baum. You can find her on Facebook at Married to the Road. Lori Underwood, you can find her also on Facebook on Rolling with the Underwoods. Chris Johnson, also on Facebook with Chasing Miles with the Clark. And our newest addition, Terry, you can find her on Facebook, Trekking with Granny. Please grab yourself a cup of coffee or wine and enjoy the show.
Okay, talk about technical difficulties. I couldn't get the thing to start back up. Hey, how is everybody?
I'm having some camera issues. It should load just shortly.
Okay, no problem. No problem. So,
okay.
How are you doing, Chris, on your ride?
I'm doing all right. I'm about an hour and a half from home. So if I could put a nitro boost in this bad boy, I would do it.
Good.
But
so Chris, you want to tell everybody what happened with what your situation's been the last 24 hours?
It's been fun. So our truck has been down. So Justin was asked to do a recovery and pick up a truck in Camden because the driver was having some issues. So we went up there, got to Camden early this morning and picked up this truck. And Justin has spent the last 5 hours or so just cleaning it, windows, floors, throwing out garbage. I mean, just really an unfortunate situation. As a driver, I don't know how you could allow your living quarters to get like that. But so I'm currently on my way home. And like I was just saying, about an hour and a half from home, and I'm excited to shower. That's what I want to do. I want to shower and scrub and just relax for the night.
I don't blame you at all. I never liked recoveries because I hate getting into somebody else's vehicle.
Well, and there's always an element of surprise. You never know what you're going to find. You're invading somebody else's personal space. So like, luckily, he hasn't found anything that he didn't want to find.
Catherine, you had an eventful week, so we got to meet each other for the first time on Mother's Day. Yeah. And then you got to see Terry this week, too.
Yes. It was a great week, and it was so nice to meet you guys, and we had such fun. It was really a great pick-me-up because, there's been stuff going on at home, and I needed a pick-me-up, so.
Yes. Terry, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm sitting in a shut-down scale house where it's nice and quiet.
That's what we did last night. We shut down in a scale house in California. I'm like, there was only one other truck there, and it was nice and quiet. I'm like, that's a perfect spot.
And I slept in one last night as well. Or night before last, in Maryland. And
I know
there's Minnesota now.
I know there's some people that are so scared about stopping in the scales and staying because they're always like, oh, they're going to come out and do an inspection. But we've never had issues ever.
As a single female, it's one of the safest places for me to park.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that there are cameras everywhere. And the State Patrol randomly come in and out throughout the night. They come in and use the restroom at the scale house. So being a female solo driver, it is like my favorite place to stay. If I can, some states don't allow it, but most now do. And it's just perfect. And plus, it's always mowed grass for the dog. They always keep it. So I pick up her poop so that, so I don't get yelled at, which I do anyway. So I'm down for the night in Minnesota.
Yeah, I am in Wyoming, and my truck is rocking back and forth pretty good. We've got about 45, 50 mile an hour winds here.
Oh, goodness. Jeez. Are you guys?
Well, good thing you're not driving in it.
Yes, I drove all day, and my arms are killing me.
Welcome to, that's like we have in North Dakota every day of the year. It's like horrible. It stinks.
Amber Hines said, hello, beautiful ladies. Hello, Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Hot Rod Prude said hello from Mississippi.
Hi.
Hello from North. No, I was going to say North Carolina, but
Kira said her and her fiance are going to try to catch the show, or might be able to catch the show tonight. So I'm hoping they can join us.
Oh, I would love that. I got to get with her because I want to get her on the show in June. I think they would. I want to get both of them on.
That would be nice.
Yeah, her and her fiance. So David said, good evening from Missoula, Montana. I can't speak. Montana, USA. Tonight, I'm going to be having stroganoff for dinner tonight. Okay, David, that sounds yummy.
When can I be there?
Right. I know. I always love it when he tells me what he's going to have for dinner because my mouth always waters. I'm like, yum. So, as you could tell, Lori is gone tonight, and she's gone for a very good reason because, in case you guys haven't seen their pictures, and if you haven't, go to their page, Rolling with the Underwoods, and you will see that yesterday was James's birthday and Lori and James's 22nd wedding anniversary. So they are in Tombstone. They've been there for the last 2 days. I think today's their last day in Tombstone, and they were doing a haunted tour of Tombstone tonight. So sounds like they're going to be having a lot of fun.
I'm jealous.
I was just going to say, I'm kind of jealous. Yeah. I don't know about the whole haunted tour thing because I'm like not a big fan of what shouldn't be around me. But I mean, for those that are that's their thing. Like, how fun!
Just a vacation would be nice.
Yes.
Catherine, did you see her outfit she had on yesterday?
Yes.
That was so pretty.
She looked beautiful. I mean, I saw the one she had on today too, and she just looks gorgeous as always. So, I am a little jealous because I am a big history buff. So, like, when she was like, "Yeah, this was the Birdcage Theater," I was like, "I want to go."
And I know how handsome James looked. Oh my God! Right? It looks like he crawled out of a history book.
I love it.
Oh my gosh, did he look? They both did. They both like perfect fit for the era. Wow.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I kind of like that era though, like the saloons and like the maids' quarters and things were just very, very different. Their attire, their wardrobe, what they, how they went about like their life, and very, very cool time for me.
It was more about people and you bartered and than today's petty society. It was more real life. You got to live.
Yeah, absolutely. My daughter lives in Tucson, which is only like an hour away from Tombstone, and I have yet to be there.
I've never.
So Larry and I spent the night at his aunt's house this week, and she was a nurse like her entire career. She retired as a nurse, and she was telling us that when her husband calls her on her cell phone, it comes up as Ice Dennis. Or when her kids call her, it'll say Ice Chad or Ice Brad. And I'm like, well, what does ICE stand for? She didn't know what it stood for, but she said that if you put in your phone contact like the word ICE in front of the person's name, that lets the paramedics and police and firemen know that that is your emergency contact person. And so ICE stands for in case of emergency. So we did not know that. And so we thought, I know a lot of people do know that, but we wanted to share that with you guys, especially for the truckers' wives and truckers out there, because should something happen to your trucker, make sure that they have you listed as their emergency contact in your phone so that the police officers know who to contact.
The other thing, Angela, is many of you might not know this, but I'm a paramedic, and we also look on the visor. A lot of people back in the day would put something taped to their visor in case of emergency. So
Very nice.
that's kind of old school, and it's old school trucking, but there still may be some people, that do that. So, and I know that there are still paramedics and police that do look at the visor. They'll flip the visor down and see if there's something taped on the visor.
I
Okay,
never
that
would
makes
have
a lot of
thought
sense.
about that.
Yeah.
Me either.
I'm
That
going to
is
have
pretty
to put up a little piece of paper and stick it to the visor.
And another thing is if you have pets with you in the truck, put VET before your veterinary number, because as a paramedic or police, if there's an animal, we will look on your phone for, if the animal's injured, or even if it's not, it needs a place to be boarded, or is there any medication, or what do we need to know before, we transport this animal. So that's a real good thing too, to have your vet's contact their VET, and then the name, if but because that's what they'll look for, is vet.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I know we were talking the other day about, I think most of us who have pets on the truck, we make sure we always have the vet records with us for that very reason. Should something happen, we have the records. And like for us, when we go into Canada, we always have to show proof that our dogs are healthy and been vaccinated. So they do ask for that occasionally. So
even at some scale houses, if you get inspected, I got an inspection down in New Mexico a year and a half ago, and I had to show Paul. My husband was riding with me. Before they would release me, I had to show a passenger approval letter from my company and vet records for my dog.
Wow, a passenger approval letter.
I saw something on, I don't know if it was a TikTok or if it was a Facebook reel regarding that, and it was a guy. I guess he's kind of, I wish I could remember his name, but he's kind of like one of those that's always going around like getting information. And he was talking to a DOT officer at a place like that, and he was saying that if you have a passenger in your truck and they're not approved, like with an approval letter, or they're not authorized to be on the truck, they will stay there and you will carry on with your business. Like they will remove them from the truck, and it's either that or you're not going anywhere. And so
that's true. You're right, Chris. With mine, Paul's was expired and we didn't realize it. They would not let me leave with him. And they gave me the option. I could leave him behind and he could fly home.
Yeah.
Or I could call and get a picture text to me, which thank goodness it was during business hours. And my company, we did have a current one. I just couldn't find it. All I had was the expired one. And
of course you couldn't find it because you needed it.
Yep, that's right. And we found it like an hour and a half later, of course. But yeah, so it's funny, as truckers, we do need to make sure we have our ducks in a row, or whatever.
Yeah,
they question everything.
That's a good thing. You know what? We should probably mention that to Lori, since she rides with James, and make sure they've got an approval letter just in case.
Yeah.
If you get that one officer that's like old school stickler, probably a lot of them don't even they probably don't even think about it. They just probably let it roll off. But there are some that are, like I said, to the books, by the rules. And I would hate for him to have to make that decision to either, I know he wouldn't leave her, but
it's still
just to be put in that situation. You know what I mean?
Could make them late for a delivery or whatever,
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, guys, I'm going to take a break here real quick because I'm going to put up 3 videos that I downloaded. So we're going to talk tonight about what a trucker's trucker's last call is. And then we're also going to be talking about the trucking charity that we've all pretty much worked with, and that's Truckers Final Mile. On the Trucker Safety Divas page just a little bit ago, I did post a link to the interview that I did with Robert. Robert is the president and founder of Truckers Final Mile, and I actually interviewed him a couple years ago and got all the history of Truckers Final Mile, and it's a really good interview. So if you guys want to listen to it, I'll also put it on Married to the Road after the show as well. But we're going to take a quick break here, and I'm going to play 3. Three truckers' last calls, and then we'll be back in just a second here.
How's road driving?
How about you, Boots? You got your ears on? Come in, Boots. You got a copy? This is the final call for Robert Barnes, a.k.a. Boots. He drove up to that highway of gold August 2nd, 2019. He was a 43-year veteran driver. Boots, your family loves and misses you so much. Watch over and protect us all. Until we meet again, we got the loads from here. Over and out.
Chaser, you got a copy? Paper Chaser, you got a copy? Holla at your boy, this L Boogie. Paper Chaser, final call for Paper Chaser. Paper Chaser, what's going on, man? We know that you've been gone for a year now, and we know you yet holding on, so we want you to keep on keeping on and keep on flying with the Eagles up there. Your family, they miss you. They love you very, very much. And guess what? We're going to keep on keeping it between the ditches down here while we marinate and modulate and chilling up in the cut like peroxide, not trying to get infected. So guess what? When we see you face to face, hey, man, we're going to dap it out one time, man. So this your boy L Boogie in the hoodie where we blessing the Lord, highly favored, excited about Jesus, excited about the word of God. Our cup is running over and we still want some more. Holla at your boy when you see us in the streets, in them golden streets, that is. Holla.
Breaker. This is Road Raider. I'm giving a shout out to Donald, aka Double D. He is on his final load. Brother, the highway is going to miss you. Take that final load up to God. You be his trucking angel. Rest in peace, my brother.
Okay, so that last final call, of course, was Larry, but I did want to give a shout out to the people who I got the TikToks from. The first one was A-Wheel0107. Her final call was for Robert Barnes, aka Boots. Also, the second one was Bambi Anti Ministries for Bob, the tow truck driver. And then the last call was Larry, and that's because we had a viewer ask us to do one for her father, Double D. So what the last call pretty much is Terry, you've actually been in the trucking industry longer, so do you want to explain what the last call is?
Okay, some of you may see on TV shows about how police officers that are retiring will get on and say something on the radio at the very last time that they are in their unit. Well, it's kind of a trucking legacy. When a driver passes away, somebody close to that driver will get on and just kind of make the announcement. It's kind of just a thank you, a respect, truckers farewell, truckers salute, to show our appreciation for the years of service that trucker has given our country. A lot of times a loved one will jump in a truck and do it, a wife, a child. If not, any trucker, it's an absolute top honor for them. Trying not to get emotional. Sorry. Just found out today that somebody I knew passed away in this truck. So it's making me sick. And it's just the ultimate respect and the ultimate honor of the country to do for another. It's something that is so special. It's our community, our family, and it's final farewell.
Sorry, Terry, I'm having a real hard time hearing you. Catherine, were you having a hard time hearing her?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little broken up, and Terry, you sound kind of far away.
Yeah. So I'll just real quick. So a last call, like Terry was saying, is pretty much either it's a last call over a CB radio. A lot of times the family members will ask a good truck driver or a friend to perform the last call, and a lot of times if you have a CB radio, you'll hear it come over, and it's just their way of honoring a truck driver that's passed. And usually what they'll do is they'll do the CB handle and say, hey, you've got your ears on. Let's say Road Ranger, let's say it was Larry, and they'll say, hey, do you have your ears on? And then of course, a moment of silence. And then they'll ask again, do you have your ears on? Usually the third time, then they'll say, okay, so-and-so passed away from this, and we're honoring him, or she, and they had children. So it's just our way of honoring the truck drivers who have passed away. And a lot of times you'll hear it on the CB. But now the thing to do over the last few years with the TikTok and Instagram and YouTube is a lot of times people will ask, hey, could you do a last call for my father or my grandfather or whatever? And then people will actually film it so that the family can see them do it, which is kind of nice now with modern technology.
It always makes me very emotional. I'll be honest with you. I've seen a lot of them, going through a trucker's final mile. You see a lot of stories of people, young and old, veterans, newbies. I mean, for whatever reason, but that one for Double D really, really hit me something fierce. Like, I think about that all the time. And like, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things where I know for that particular individual, it was his daughter, right, that reached out and said that she wanted those last calls sent to her because in honor of her father, she was going to play those at his memorial service. I about lost it. I just,
Yeah, we all three did one. You guys and us and Lori and James, we all three did one.
Yep.
Can you guys hear me now? Better?
Yeah, we can hear you, Terry.
Okay. What I really wanted to emphasize is that in this industry, it is like the top of the line honor to be able to do a last call for another driver. It's just, there's not even words. It's that special to do for a driver, a family. And basically it's our trucking community paying homage, however you want to put it, but just saying thank you to that driver for the years of service and final farewell from the entire trucking industry.
Catherine, I'm assuming you've heard a trucker's last call before, have you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, and honestly, like from my perspective, it also makes me incredibly emotional, and I think it's because one of my biggest fears is something happening to Ron in the truck.
Oh yeah.
When he had his heart attack, thank God he was at home. Thank God he was at home. Otherwise, there's no way he would have survived.
Yeah.
So I get very emotional about it because I think it brings up, for those of us that are at home, one of our biggest fears that we try to work through. I apologize for my dogs, guys.
Oh, you're fine.
They're making noise.
Mine are sleeping.
But it's it's so emotional. Ron's done them a couple times, and I know he's been in an accident where a driver lost his life, and a pastor driver came on the radio and started preaching, and Ron said he had to shut it off because he couldn't listen to it. He broke down really, and it's an emotional moment, and in the crazy life of a truck driver, there are those tender, heart-wrenching moments that a lot of people don't know exist.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we wanted to also talk tonight and about Trucker's Final Mile. And I know a lot of people have heard about Trucker's Final Mile, but what I think most people hear about a Trucker's Final Mile is they'll see the postings that Robert puts up on the website. And I know for a fact, because I talked to a lot of my trucking friends, that sometimes they see those and they just scroll right past it. Not because they don't care, or not because, oh God, I don't want to look at that. It's, oh God, another driver died, I can't bear to look at it type of thing, because it's very hard for us in this industry, whether you see a truck driver that probably just died in an accident on the highway, or you get onto Facebook and that's the first thing you see. It's a hard reminder of our occupation,
Our reality.
so
Yeah.
yes, our reality. So
I know.
Okay, so I know that I wanted to also mention, and I did not get a chance to talk to this particular lady. I don't even want to say her name, but I will say that one of her divas this year lost her husband, and thanks to Trucker Spinal Mile, they were able to bring her husband back. And out of respect for her husband, and the way that he passed away, I don't really want to bring up her name. However, Lori and I, we kept in constant contact with her. And it took her a few weeks to get her husband home. And that was more due to legalities and getting all the paperwork and all that good stuff, because it's quite a process to get your trucker home to their family. But there is a diva in our group that Trucker Spinal Mile stepped in and did help bring her husband home. So it has directly affected one of our divas.
I can't even imagine. I think about that constantly. I don't want to say not so much now that I'm out there, because like Catherine, and I'm sure like Paul, like you, Angie, when you weren't out there, when you're at home and you're not within arm's reach, it's very difficult to swallow that you might not be able to get there in time. You might not,
Yes.
be able to be there in their final moments. And I know when I was home, that was one of my biggest fears. If I didn't hear from Justin within a certain amount of time, I was blowing up his phone. Now, thank goodness for 360, I can follow him and track him. But now that I'm with him, there's a different level of worry. You know what I mean? Like, it's both of us now. And
Right.
it's not just me at home worried about where he's at or what's going to happen to him. Hopefully nothing, that nothing happens to any of our drivers. But what an emotional thing. What a fantastic organization, if you will, that Robert's got going on. I give him a lot of praise and a lot of credit.
I know that with Paul, our situation is opposite of normal. Most of the time, the husbands are the drivers and the wives are at home. And with us, it's backwards. And I think, and Chris, you're right, because if he can't reach me, oh my gosh, if I'm up with the dog and he calls and I leave one in the truck, I have 17 missed calls when I get back in. And, as a husband, he thinks it's one of his concerns, exactly what you said, getting there. He believes it's his job to protect his wife. And so that's totally understandable when you said that, Chris, because he feels like if something would happen to me, he's supposed to be there. That's his, and what if he can't? So I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. I wanted to mention real quick. So on Trucker Spinal Mile's page, they said that their mission, and I wrote it down because I wanted to make sure I said it correctly. The whole mission of Trucker Spinal Mile is to reunite the truckers' families with their truckers in times of crisis. Now, we're going to go into a lot of detail as far as the different things that Trucker Spinal Mile offers. Not only do they provide assistance to the family members to bring the trucker home to the family, but they have a lot of other things that they do. And let me also reiterate, they don't just assist the truck driver. They assist the children, the grandchildren, the wife. So it's the immediate family members of whatever trucker, and whether it's a medical crisis or a death or something like that. So they don't just stop at the truck driver. Just 1 second. Dawn Stanton said, the wreck on I-20 in Texas that took the life of a NASCAR hauler. It was very sad and hard to drive by the wreck. All I could do is cry and pray for everyone that was involved. This happened a couple of weeks ago.
I remember that.
I think that's the worst part of driving. Sometimes you come across these accidents and you just know that driver didn't make it, and it just kind of takes your breath away. And there's times where I'm bawling because you think of that poor family is getting ready to get that phone call.
Well, like Justin and I were at a truck stop. I can't remember where we were, but we were at a truck stop and we saw like the what do you call it? Like the morgue people drive in.
Coroner.
Justin, yeah, and he looked at me and I was just like, oh. A good friend of mine, her father passed away. A good friend that I went to school with, actually, her father passed away in New Jersey in his truck. And so, you know, it makes you kind of, when you see something like that, it makes you kind of sit back and take a breath and like really grab a hold of how precious life is and the dangers that us truckers, you know, come across and are exposed to regularly.
Yes. I wanted to share a tip with Robert that Robert had mentioned, and I honestly had never thought about it until I did that interview with Robert. And again, you can hear the interview on Trucker Safety Divas, and I'm going to put it on Married to the Road. It's an interview we did a couple years ago with Robert. But one of the things he was talking about was how so many of us as truck drivers, we don't prepare for our burial costs, nor do we prepare for the cost for our body to come home to our families. So what he had suggested for all truck drivers to do was to get some type of debit card, even if it's like one of those prepaid ones. And every week when you get paid, put $25 on it or $50 on it and make that card specifically for your burial expenses or your expenses to get you home to your family in case of an emergency. And then keep that in the visor of your truck with a little note on it so they know, like your family members, that they know that that's what that money is to be used for, so that your family doesn't have a crisis where they can't afford to get you home or they can't afford the medical costs. You'll have that debit card up there for that particular reason, and then don't ever touch it. That's what it's for. And I never thought about that, but I was like, what a great idea, because a lot of us don't think about it, or we don't have that extra cash to be putting away. But $25 a week onto a debit card that you don't ever touch, we could afford that.
Yep, I absolutely agree. And no matter what's on that, I'm sorry guys that my screen's a little dark, but
you're okay.
I don't want to mess with the police here in North Carolina. But you know, even if it's just a little bit, I mean, even that little bit would come in handy. God forbid there was ever a time like, you know, a fatal accident where it needed to be accessed. So it's not that there needs to be thousands and thousands, but just something.
Yeah.
And people don't understand. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Yeah, but your camera's turned.
Yeah,
and I go into your eyeball.
Closer to the microphone. Sorry. People don't understand how exorbitant the cost is to return your loved one or you to your family. It can be upwards of $10,000. A lot of it is legal fees, and it's just insanely expensive. So, preparing for, you know, instead of hurting your family with that, it's just such a smart thing. And especially for you guys who are running team, God forbid something happens and your family loses both of you. That's twice the cost.
Yep.
Yeah, Robert was saying that the average cost to truckers' final mile to bring a truck driver home to his family. Now it varies in every state, but you got to figure as far as the costs go, you got to provide the transportation of the trucker. So it's either by truck, by train, or by another semi-truck. So you have to pay for that cost. You have to pay for the life insurance forms. You have to pay for the transportation forms. There's all kinds of forms that you have to fill out in order to transport that body from one location to another location. And that all costs. It's not free. That's where Truckers Final Mile will step in, because a lot of the companies that we work for, they won't help with those expenses. And Robert had actually, it's on the website, and he also talked about it in our interview, where he was saying that there was truckers' wives that would have to wait for their husband's final paycheck to come in order for them to bury their husbands, because they couldn't afford it. And so that's where Truckers Final Mile steps in to try to help that process, so that they're not having to depend on their husband's last paycheck in order to bury their, you know, husband or wife or whoever was the one that, you know, passed away in an accident. And I just thought that was so sad that they had to wait for their truck drivers' final check in order to bury them.
And you know, it's amazing how Truckers Final Mile does so much more than just that, though, also.
Yes.
And look at that one gentleman that got sick and he had his leg amputated. They helped build a ramp in his home. I can speak from experience when my dad was living with me, when my husband and I, when he had his legs amputated. It was so expensive to turn our home to a handicap accessible. And Truckers Final Mile helps with that. If the truck driver's in an accident injured, they will help with those expenses as well. They help get your pets home. I mean, there's so much to this organization, so much. It's unbelievable what they provide for us drivers.
Yeah. I was going to say that when I was on their website tonight, I was kind of trying to get some statistics. They were saying that on average, 800 truck drivers die annually every year. 20,000 are injured, and there's about 400,000 truck drivers that will be involved in an accident throughout the year. So, I mean, those are some pretty staggering information. So I wanted to go over real quick the things that Truckers Final Mile does so that if you do make a donation, you know where your money is going to. I mean, a lot of the money goes towards bringing home the truckers because, unfortunately, they help out a lot of trucking families. I mean, I think it's like over 400 in the last 2 years that they've brought home.
In 8 years, it's 441, Angela.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they help.
Last week, I think it was.
Yeah, so they help with the loss of life of a trucker, like we've been saying about bringing them home. But they also will help if a truck driver has a severe injury. So in other words, if they got into an accident and maybe they're permanently disabled now and they can no longer drive, Truckers Final Mile will help out with immediate expenses like rent and groceries, to help out with immediate expenses. The other thing, anything like a major medical event, and it's not just for the trucker. That's the other thing I want to stress. You know, it could be the trucker's wife, it could be the trucker's husband, it could be the child, the grandchild. So they try to help out in all of those instances. And then the other thing is mobility issues. So let's say a truck driver has an issue and now they can no longer walk and they're wheelchair bound. So Truckers Final Mile, like Terry was saying, has stepped in to help retrofit bathrooms to help a truck driver be able to get around. They've also provided ramps for them to be able to get into their home. And then the last thing that they do is grief counseling. Because so many of us, you know, not only for the spouse or the significant other, but also for the children involved, they offer either counseling with their chaplain that they have who works there, or they will pay to have you be able to go into grief counseling, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's definitely hitting all aspects of a particular situation.
I did not know they did the grief counseling. Thank you for that info. I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So they help in every way possible.
Yeah, I mean, they really do. I'll be honest with you. When I interviewed them, I was kind of ignorant. I just thought the only thing they did was to bring truck drivers back to their families. And that in itself blew me away.
Right.
And one more thing I should state, and I guess I should have stated that at the beginning. The founder of Truckers Final Mile, his name is Robert. And he's a truck driver himself. He's been a truck driver. He's been a tow truck driver. He's been a safety instructor. He's been a driving instructor. But he is still a working truck driver. He's on the road just like us, over the road. So all the work that you see as far as him getting these truckers home, he does this while he's on the road. I mean, yes, he's got other people that volunteer, but he does this while he's on the road. So my hats go off to him because he helps out a lot of families.
Yeah.
And a lot of families all at once. It's not like he's just focusing on the Smith family or the Johnson family. I mean, he could have a couple of different situations going on at once while still trying to maintain his own priorities, which is incredible.
Yeah. And one of the things we were talking and I told him that one of the things that really irritates me is when I see a truck driver on Truckers Final Mile that comes up and you're reading the story about how they passed away, or maybe you know the trucking company that they work for. And it makes me so mad when you know that they work for a very large trucking company, and I'm not going to throw any names out there, but a very large trucking company, and the fact that that particular trucking company would not help bring that truck driver home to their family just infuriates me. He does get donations from corporate sponsors, but they're few and far between. So he does rely on all of us and our donations to Truckers Final Mile to help out these truckers and their families. So, I mean, that's why it's so important. Larry and I try to donate as often as possible.
Angela, you were talking about trucking company. When I went on the site today, which I admit I hadn't been on in quite a couple of months, I saw a gentleman on there, a young man named Eddie. I ran into this driver a couple of years ago, and he actually helped me with the trailer problem. Randomly just jumped out of his truck to help me when he saw me struggling. And we ended up talking and having coffee because here he was working for a company in my hometown in Duluth, Minnesota. And I saw his picture and I about like fell out of my chair. Then I read on, and his company, TV, actually paid for everything. So Eddie's family put the money back into the Truckers Final Mile. But you were talking about companies, and here this isn't a huge mega carrier. And if they can do it, why can't these big companies do it? And they paid for everything to return him to his family. And so I completely agree with that. You know, here a small family company can do it, but mega carriers with billions can't.
Yeah, you were kind of breaking up there, Terry. So I just because Terry and I had talked on the phone earlier, and so what you might have missed it when she was talking was she was on Truckers Final Mile earlier, and she was scrolling through the pictures of the truck drivers who have passed away, and she actually recognized one of them as somebody that had helped her out in the past. And I do want to mention Dawn Stanton says, I have already prearranged my funeral and I have started putting money in an account that my sister and I have. Yeah, Larry and I have actually started, we're in the process of making arrangements with a funeral home for cremation and trying to get all of our arrangements made so that our kids don't have to do it, which I know it's morbid, but you got to do what you got to do.
Sorry, Chris.
Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay. So just please, like, I don't want to sound morbid, but please do that. Like, make those arrangements because my family got into a situation with my dad. Now, my family, I mean, my mom and my dad, they're not a trucking family, but my dad had a medical emergency and there was nothing in place, nothing. So at the last minute, I'm like, well, who's the medical power of attorney? Who's going to make decisions? What do we need to do now? And it was stressful. And I mean, it was before cancer. I always put like BC, before cancer, or AC, after cancer. So it was before cancer. And so I had, you know, like I called my big sister and we had a family meeting. And so, like, please, you know, as the daughter of a man who is incredibly smart, and to see him in the shape he is now and the things that we have to make decisions about, like, please don't put that stress on your family. Don't do it. It's hard. And so, you know, make those arrangements and save that money and, you know, have a little nest egg just for your funeral expenses. It's not cheap, and it is very hard on the family members that have to make last minute decisions.
And to kind of go off of what you were saying, Catherine, you know, a lot of times there, you know, when somebody passes, there's a certain time frame. You know, it's I don't want to say like the golden hour, but you know, things have to be done pretty quickly in order for, you know, human preservation and transport and, you know, all of that stuff. And if you're scrambling around, you know, on the weekend, you can't get to the courthouse to get these power of attorney papers signed, or you can't necessarily get up with a lawyer or some legal aid advisor, if you will, to get these things done. You know, I've had discussions with Justin about, living wills and trying to, I haven't really even thought about making arrangements yet because the thought of that kind of scares me. But being in the medical field and seeing what these families, and hearing about you, Catherine, and, with what's gone on with your dad. And I've seen people just throw in the towel because they can't get things done in a timely fashion. Yeah, I wouldn't want my kids to have to deal with that.
And honestly, like I'm very selective about who I give to and who I donate to. I donate to the Truckers Final Mile, and I donate to a vet, one of the military veteran programs they have. Those are things I truly deeply support, and if I can help, again, and Chris, you and I have talked about this. Angie, I think we have talked about it. If I can help one person, then I know I can go to bed at night and, be at peace. But my heart breaks every time I see a picture, and I don't scroll through. I read every story because I want to know. Even I want to know who that truck driver was. And sometimes they're so young. There was one that was like 32, and it didn't go into details, but I know like he left behind 3 kids and a wife, and I was like, and again, that it's like a knife through the heart because I'm terrified of getting that phone call. You know what I mean?
There was a female story that I read on a Trucker's Mile, and she took her own life, bless her heart, but she left behind 2 small children, like little children, and it broke my heart. So if you guys haven't checked it out, go check out A Trucker's Final Mile. I mean, just read about some of the things because you will be as blown away as I think all of us ladies are.
And I think as drivers, we need to also, what Catherine, you touched on that, like let somebody in our family make sure they know our final wishes for organ donation. Have that medical directive. Like my mom, most of you know, battled terminal cancer, and I cared for my dad till he died. And so I sat with each one of my parents and went through it's a questionnaire like, do you want to live on life? Yes, no, and then you explain. Okay, so you may say yes for 1 month. If I'm not back in 1 month, let me go. You can actually make like those types of decisions now. And you can put timelines on this. Do I want to be tube fed? Do you have a DNR, which is do not resuscitate? There are like all different, and you can add what you want to that. So you can say, like my dad, he was able to donate cells. He was able to donate skin for burn victims. And so you can go into all this detail. And that way, if something does happen to you, whether you're driving or not, it's still driving.
I wanted to get
Catherine, sorry. I'm sorry, Angela.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just saying, like Catherine had stated, some of those decisions your family might not know, because that is a hard conversation to have with your spouse, your parents. Okay, do I want my eyeballs donated? Well, that's a possibility. You can donate your eyes. But not everybody goes into that detail. Well, on this form, you can fill all that information out. So there is no stress. There's no stress on your spouse, your kids, nothing. Those decisions are made by you. And then you assign somebody to make sure that those choices and decisions are carried out as you wish. So, that's huge. And that's free. You can go to your courthouse and get those free. You go to the hospitals. Hospitals have all of that. They'll hand you the forms. Just walk in and say, I need a living will and a medical directive. And then you just take it home and you guys fill it out, do it together. Or you do it alone. But it's so important, guys, whether you're driving or not, even driver's spouse.
Even in my case, I had my mastectomy, right? And before that, so in the hospitals, they have what's called advanced directives. So you can kind of fill those forms out and put down whether you want CPR if something should happen during a surgery, or life-saving measures, that kind of thing. And I actually filled it out, and I sat down with my big sister and Ron, and I was like, we need to have a conversation because I don't want to be a vegetable. And, we've talked through that, and I don't want to be, I have another big surgery yet to get through, and that's not till October. So I was very clear about what I want and what I don't want. And that put my mind at ease, knowing, because first of all, I don't think my mom would be able to make a decision without being too emotional. Like, I know Ron and Claire are both they're pretty, they'll follow the rules, right? So,
Right.
and I'm 42, I'm only 42 and I'm still thinking ahead. And I really believe that's a big, big step that a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but, it's morbid and, well, it is kind of, but it's also smart. It's also smart.
Yes.
And I really, truly don't want to, I hate the thought of a trucker's family suffering with the loss, first of all, and then trying to figure out what next.
Yes. I wanted to get to a couple comments, guys, because we do have a couple here. Don Stanton said the cremation cost between $3,500 and $5,000, and a funeral is between $8,000 and $15,000 here in Alabama, and that's pretty close to what it is in Illinois too. Facebook user, I'm sorry, don't know who it is, says, I agree, the same thing. I do what I do to help anyone. One person makes it all worth it.
Yep.
And Lori Leach said, fortunately, my dad has all of his papers in order. It helps that I am only. I need to do the same thing for myself, though. It's a tough decision to make, not having children who to make an executor. Yeah, I mean, I know it's morbid and we don't like to talk about it, but I think especially Chris and Justin and myself and Larry and Terry, because we're out here on the road and we're facing, we are in one of the most dangerous jobs in America. So we have to think rationally about making those hard decisions. So our families don't have to.
Yep. And I think the most important thing about making those decisions is you want to be able to make them when you're of sound mind.
Yeah.
And, you, like what Catherine was saying about Ron and Claire, I feel like having those makes it impossible for that one family member or sibling or whatever that is wanting to make decisions for you based on their feelings. And I think that's super important to differentiate when we're talking about advanced directives and living will, is regardless, like one of my daughters, I can tell you, will be like, keep her on life support. I don't want my mom to go. But, other two will be like, this is what mom wants, you know? So I think to alleviate that stress, it's also really good to have those forms filed and notarized and at hand, if you will, for if and when that time comes.
Just like today, Chris, while you were on live, I had a lady come off the shoulder, but dead stop, and I almost smashed into her. That could have been my life today, and all this would have been left on the phone. So it just that fast, anything can happen. So it's amazing.
I wanted to also mention one of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk about, Truckers Final Mile, and this blows me away. This is something that you guys really don't hear about until about July. But from July until the end of December, Truckers Final Mile has a Christmas charity organization. It is called Sleigh Bells and Santa. What it is from July until December, they take special donations that go specifically to this Sleigh Bells and Santa. And what it is for the children who have lost a truck driver over the last year, they will provide presents for that child just to kind of make their Christmas just a little bit more special. So again, that's another thing that Truckers Final Mile does on a yearly basis. So in July, you're going to start seeing Robert start campaigning, and that money will go directly to the children and the grandchildren who have lost a truck driver over the last year, just so that Robert can help make their Christmas just a little bit better, which I think is amazing.
And when you make a donation, you can specify, right, Angela, if I remember right?
You could specify, and he'll start running it around July, so he'll have like a special link specifically for sleigh bells and Santa. So you could choose how you want your money to go.
And they do accept PayPal as well. I know that because that's how I've donated in the past. So that's a nice, easy link too. For those of us that don't want to put your credit cards out there, you can make a donation via PayPal.
Yeah, the easiest way for you to donate is you could go find them on Facebook, or you can go directly to their webpage. It is atruckersfinalmile.org, and you will see the donate link right on the top. Again, this is a 501c charity, so they are an authorized charity through the IRS. Again, every ounce of money that you donate throughout the year goes directly towards helping truckers or their family members. But I just think it's important for people to understand that they do so much more than just bringing the drivers home to their families, which is huge in itself. But I mean, they offer the grief counseling, they help with mobility issues, they help if a trucker has medical conditions or their spouse or loved one does. So, I mean, Robert does a lot.
It's an amazing charity. If anybody is looking for a tax deductible charity where it really makes a difference to the average person in any walk of life in our industry, it's like the most phenomenal thing that you can do. It's
Absolutely.
just it's amazing. There's no other word for it. What he does is simply amazing.
Agreed.
And Catherine, I was going to ask you, do you know, and I'm sure that we can find it, I'm sure that we can probably find links to like an advance directive that people can fill out online. Have you ever seen one of those?
Yeah. I am absolutely certain we can get a copy of one. I actually would be, I mean, I have my own filled out and filed with my medical providers.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to share that. But I'm pretty sure you can find one online because they are, kind of generic forms. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. And I know, like, when we were worked on for my dad, it was really challenging because he has vascular dementia, and it's like it presents like Alzheimer's, except in vascular dementia it's pretty much preventable. He did not take very good care of himself over the years, and like my dad, when I was growing up, he was the guy that was like, do you know what happened on this day in 1942? And we'd be like, no. And he just knew all this stuff. And now he can't remember what he ate for breakfast. So it's really sad. And when we had to work on his advance directives and on his, end of life choices, it was he didn't understand them. And that was the challenge. So, when we say, when the question says, do you want life-saving measures? My mom's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, maybe, try one time. And if he doesn't respond, let him go. Don't keep trying. You know what I mean? Yes.
And the nice part is you can specify that, right, Catherine? You can say try one time, and that's it. You can put those details on there.
Yes.
And you can look into any hospital or doctor's office.
Any office, any of your providers will accept it. Now, I know for my dad, he also has a living will and a medical power of attorney, which is my mom and sister. So there's a lot that goes along with, preparing for end of life. So.
Yeah, it's, I know it's a subject nobody likes to talk about, but it has to be. I did want to mention that next week our show is going to be on dating and being a truck driver. And so I am looking for a guest or two who are single out here who would like to be a guest out here, because I honestly have no idea how it is being a single trucker out here. So we would love to have, so if anybody knows of any single truckers, male or female, who would like to be on the show, or if they could just talk to me and like give me some 411 on I'm sure majority of the truckers, and I don't know because I haven't started my research on this, but I'm assuming most of the truckers probably use dating apps, wouldn't you think?
I would assume so.
Yeah,
I mean-
I would think so.
I would love to share my story, and
Oh yeah,
Isn't there a truckers dating app? I thought somebody told me there was.
I have no
found
idea.
two. Yeah, I found two of them.
When I was single on the truck, there was no cell phone, so it was back in the day, you know. But now everything's just technology, social media.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have to have Catherine share her story about how she met her Ron.
It's such a
Reeled them
sweet
in.
little love story.
she reeled him in hook, line, and sinker.
I sure did.
One too. She got a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine, I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm having brain fog. Do you remember what Wednesday's show is this week? I know, I should have wrote it down. Oh, my
If I
Lord.
had my laptop, I would be able to tell you.
Isn't it food? Something about food?
I think it was, recipes and sharing recipes and talking about food, because we did
Yeah.
relationships last week. So that sounds right to me.
Yep. I was trying to remember.
It must be good.
Oh my goodness, I should have wrote it down. I'm so terrible.
Well, I would have, if I had my laptop, I would be able to tell you. However, I do not have
Why
my laptop.
don't you have a laptop?
Well, because my very adorable little puppy that I adore, Buddy, ate my charger. So
And those laptop chargers are not cheap.
I know. I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So tomorrow to do is to go buy a new charger because I don't like this little tiny screen. It drives me crazy.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Does anybody else have any announcements that we need to make before we get ready to end the show?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Okay.
I would just like to encourage everybody to please find it in your heart to make a donation to this amazing charity. Please, please, please. It is, we need your help. Even if it's $4, $2, every dollar helps. If you can help, please help us.
Absolutely. And again, I can't state enough, it is a 501c charity, so you know exactly where your money is going to. Lori Leach is saying, good night, ladies. Be safe in your travels. And Dawn Stanton is saying, I am widowed and single and not dating anyone.
I just wanted to remind also for our viewers and our audience, if you do have a last call, please let Angie know.
Yes. Yeah. If anybody has a last call, we will make sure that it gets done. We get asked quite often to do last calls, and I know Chris and Justin and all of us would be honored to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You betcha. It's the biggest honor in this industry. The biggest honor.
Justin more so than me. I get too emotional and I'll just start crying. So I can't speak. I speak silliness. So Justin's a big tough guy. So he's the one on the CB doing those last calls.
Larry,
I think I've done
Larry too.
12.
I can't do it.
I think I've done 12 in my career. Yeah, 12.
Yeah, I can't do them. I get too emotional. I'm just like you, Chris. I'm like, okay, Larry, it's your turn.
Right. So I can start and I can like play it in my head what I want to say, and then you put me on the spotlight and I'm like, I'm sorry. Like I can't do it.
I am the same way.
I actually might be doing one for that. I was talking to his mother about that gentleman that I just found out passed. And if I do, I will definitely record it and see if he minds if we share.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, let us know, because I know Justin would love to do a last call for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank everybody for joining us.
Oh, I got one more thing to show. I totally forgot about this. So speaking of Truckers Final Mile, and we have talked about this before, I'm going to put up a picture real quick here. Okay. So this is their trailer that Robert pulls behind his truck. This is a memorial trailer for all the truck drivers that have died in the past. And you will notice that on there, and I'm going to give you a blow up here, are bricks. Those bricks are $250, and you could have your trucker's information put on there, like his name, date of birth, when he passed away, if he was military. So it's the way of memorializing your trucker and then also helping Trucker's Final Mile. So you can also find information about that on Trucker's Final Mile. Again, on Facebook, it's a Trucker's Final Mile, or if you're on the computer, it's a truckersfinalmile.org, and you can find out about how you could get one of those memorial bricks on Robert's trailer, or you could just make a donation strictly through their webpage, through PayPal or Facebook. So I think I got everything.
That trailer is beautiful. I'm going to have to keep my eyes open for it.
It is
It
gorgeous.
really is. I keep looking every time I'm out. I'm like, I keep hoping I see it. I've seen videos of him like walking around the truck and showing it, and it's so beautiful. He just got it done like 6 months ago.
They're in Pennsylvania right now for an event. Allentown, maybe.
Oh, are they? Oh,
I have the town wrong, but yeah, he's in Pennsylvania right now.
very cool. That's where we're heading, towards Pennsylvania. Maybe I'll see him.
So see if you can meet him somewhere.
Yeah, I would love to meet him. That would be like an honor. He was a very nice gentleman. But again, I did put up the interview on Trucker Safety Divas. If you get a chance and you're driving or something, you need something to listen to, it's a really good interview. He tells you so much information about himself, how he got started with Trucker's Final Mile, all the programs that they do, all the services that they offer. And I will also put it up on a Married to the Road too, so you can listen to it there. And Lori will be back with us next week after her fun.
And also,
I was just going to say, feel free to throw it on Chasing Miles with the Clarks also, and Chasing Miles, you're welcome to throw it up on our page if people want to watch it there as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
put it on mine too, Ann.
Okay. Go ahead, Catherine.
I was just going to say, and don't forget Tuesday night, radio show.
Yeah.
Radio show.
Oh my God. Yes.
Speaking of radio
Oh my God, you guys, I'm so bad.
What happened last week?
The owner, Tom Kelly, had a death in his family, so we had to cancel the show.
We were waiting.
They did reruns all day. Who was waiting and waiting?
What?
I couldn't hear who was talking. Who was talking?
Chris.
Chris? Okay, yeah, I didn't even know if you guys were going to do the show or not. Okay.
Well, you were supposed to text us
Tuesday
a couple days before.
Yeah, we didn't know if you guys were going to do the show. We never heard back from you, but I'll get with you on another date. But there was a death in the family, so it was reruns the whole night.
That works.
But just Tuesday nights, TNC Radio, Larry and I, through the month of May, it'll be on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Central. You can listen to our radio show called Taillights with the Bombs on tncradio.live, or you can also download the app on the Google or Apple Play Store. This Tuesday night, we're going to have Catherine and Ron as our guest. And then come June 1st, we're going to be moving to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central on TNC Radio. So we're pretty excited. We're getting bumped up to a primetime spot. So
excellent.
Yeah. Please join us this Tuesday. I'm excited for everybody to meet Ron. He's kind of a trip and a funny guy.
He's funny. He's very funny.
He's a funny guy.
And he's a good really storyteller.
Oh gosh, his stories. But yes, we are very excited to join Angie and Larry and are looking forward to it. So please come join us.
I know I always forget to promote my own radio station. What the heck? Yes. So I'm so bad. I'm so new to this. But yeah, so those of you guys, if you're not familiar, Taillights with the Bombs is where we interview truckers every week, and they just share stories from over the road. We've had Terry on there. We're going to get Chris and Justin on there. Lori and James have been on there. So it's really fun. If you would like to be on our radio show, get a hold of me. We would love to have you on. We are booked up right now until about the middle of June. So get a hold of me soon.
Thank you.
All right. You ladies have... I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted somebody. Was somebody trying to talk?
I think Terry was.
I just said thank you, Angela, for all you and Larry do.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. And thank you, ladies, for helping me out with the show. You guys are awesome. You guys are my right and left arms. Sorry, guys.
Is that like right and left Twix?
Yes. I don't get those commercials, by the way. I don't know.
I don't understand either. I just know I had a right Twix today.
I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their weekend. I need to run. Thank you for joining us, everybody. And please donate. Please.
Yes. Please donate. All right. You guys have a great week. We'll be back Wednesday at noon with Terry and Catherine with the Wednesday Wife Show. The guys are going to have their show next Friday, Truckers TV. And then we'll be back here next Saturday talking about dating and being a trucker. So that should be an interesting show. So we will see everybody later.
All right, bye, guys.
Everyone.
Safe travels.